I know that principals are going to be getting together with our assistant superintendent for secondary, Jennifer Ruckstad. She's tremendous, and the principals are amazing. And so they're going to try to figure out what exactly they'll look like. If, in fact, maybe we could even do an alternative ceremony sometime this summer for kids to actually have that ritual and rite of passage, because I think it's really important.
All right, we'll catch up with you coming up here in just about 20 minutes. I want to ask you more about any alternate plans for graduation as well. But again, thank you so much for your time this morning, and we'll check back in with you. Right now, we're joined live by Superintendent Peter Stiepleman, and he's been with us all morning. Mr. Stiepleman, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us.
I'm expecting my W-2 at some point as an employee of your network.
I'll tell my boss to get it right over to you. Earlier in our newscast, we were talking about plans for alternate graduation plans and maybe some proms. Kind of expand on that just a little bit more.
Yeah, so we've been looking at this. I mean, I have a high school student who lives in my house as well. Actually, I have two. So I understand this whole idea of, they've lost their spring concerts, they've lost their sports seasons, they've lost their debate competitions. I mean, these are all the rituals that make up the high school experience. So if we can find a way to do a prom or some other type of culminating ceremony, we should. So we're going to look at exploring what that ceremony, like a graduation, might look like if, in fact, it turns out that we're not able to do graduation this year. So, if you have me on a week from now, I'll have even more answers. This is a pivotal week for us in terms of finding out those answers.
Yeah, and this is ever-changing, obviously unprecedented time. So I understand that this could change by the minute, really. And so for our viewers just now joining us, I'd like for you to just reiterate what we were talking about the plans that will be announced later today for changes to these alternate learning.
Absolutely. So the Columbia Public Schools is part of the incident command structure that the local community has created, right? And so one of those things is we have to really pay attention to what our local and state health departments and authorities are telling us. So we had originally hoped that we'd be back on the 13th. That obviously is not the case. We are projecting to be back on the 27th, but we're trying to plan and make sure that if, in fact, that doesn't become a reality either, that families have a really clear understanding of how we're going to be able to support children moving forward until the end of the school year. And so where we were after we got out on what we closed on March 18th. And so when we got out, we said, look, we'll be on spring break for a week. We'll come back for 2 weeks. And we basically asked teachers just to convert their classes into this alternative model. And that became incredibly overwhelming, not just for families and for children, but also for teachers, because we asked them to do what they do really well, which is teach. But it became sort of an inundation of emails and expectations and deadlines. And so our job is to really respond to what we hear from the community. And what we were hearing was we are completely overwhelming them. We are looking at a May 21st as the peak, is what we're hearing, right, in terms of the pandemic, in terms of coronavirus, which means that from March 18th to May 21st is the sort of ramp up, and then there's going to be the flattening of that curve on the way down. So how do we make sure that if we're going to be doing this for more weeks than we had originally anticipated, to do this in a reasonable way, to say, look, we're going to keep learning, we're not canceling school. We're going to make sure that on those credit-bearing courses for high school, that we're going to make sure we do everything we possibly can so that children pass, get the credits, so they can graduate and move on to their future endeavors. So we're going to just keep making sure that we're doing things that are kid first, and not forgetting the very fact that we've got to attend to the social, emotional, the mental health needs of our kids who are looking around saying, I've never experienced anything like this. We know adults are anxious about it. We really got to tune into our kids as well, because staying at home all the time, that's a new normal for our kids. Who are really, at their very nature, very social. So we're going to figure this out together. I'm really grateful that you had me on this.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time and being with us this morning. I know it's a very busy time. I'm sure there's no course when you're becoming an administrator on how to handle a worldwide pandemic.
That's right, global pandemic. That's the third semester. No, there's nothing. So, but I have a great team that I work with, and so it's made it a lot easier. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. You have a great day.